And we announced yesterday that Brother Greg Beasley would be with us this morning. He is, I'm going to let him do most of the talking because I don't know anything. And I'll just let you take it. Now, this concerns the wreck that occurred August, was it August 30? August 30. All right. I keep getting dates mixed up. And the one that Carol Ann and myself was involved in. Of course, it was in that wreck that she went to be with the Lord. And so, Brother Greg, I'll let you take it from there. What did you see? Why were you there? And just whatever, okay?
Well, Jerry, thank you so much for allowing me to come. This is the first time that I've been able to see you since the wreck. And 2 or 3 things come to mind. First of all, how good our God is. Mm-hmm. It's really amazing to sit here and see you compared to what I saw a few months ago with you. But you know, our God is so good, and I just want to first of all give Him the glory and honor and credit for all things. And Jerry, that day was kind of an unusual day for me because normally I go to the office on Fridays and use that day for my study. Well, that particular day, I just didn't do that. I had some people working at my house that day, and so I had to run to the hardware store, which there not far from where the wreck happened. And when I went by there, first of all, I kept putting it off, and I knew I had to go, and I kept putting it off and putting it off. So finally, I had to go and get some things. And Brother Jerry, when I came up on the wreck, I actually thought it was just a small fender bender, and it didn't look all that bad. And then I went on. I actually just passed it because it just didn't look that bad. So I went to get what I needed and came back through. And then when I came back through, I saw this man laying down on the ground, and some folks were doing CPR. And so immediately I knew that this was more than just a fender bender. So I pulled over, and the state trooper, Mitch Mitchell, was there. And let me say something about Mitch. It's Mitch took care of your wife. He was in the back with her, and he was there every moment with her that I know of, and comforting her and talking with her and making sure she didn't have any more injuries by holding her C-spine. And by the way, every time, of course, I've been a state trooper chaplain for many, many years, and every time that I ride with Mitch, he always has it on WBTG. So Mitch is a wonderful state trooper, wonderful person. He was there. So the first thing that I done was I went over to Mitch, and I said, "Trooper, what do you need me to do?" And he said, "Well, just help with traffic." Well, about that time, this lady tapped me on the shoulder. Now, Brother Jerry, I don't know who she was. I don't know where she went to. I do not know her name, but she said, "Aren't you Greg?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "They need you on the other side." So I went over to the other side, Jerry, and there this man lay there. And I looked at him, and I didn't, Brother Jerry, I didn't know who he was. And there was a gentleman there, Jeff Rice, from Russellville Hospital, and also a young lady from ECM Hospital. Now, I do not know her name, but they were giving this man CPR. And so I got down and began to help and started doing chest compressions, and I was right there by the face, and I looked, and Brother Jerry, I'm going to be honest with you, the thought went through my mind, this guy's not going to make it. And then it's a very emotional morning for both of us, but I looked, and I thought this man's not going to make it, and I saw his wife in the car, and I thought, oh goodness, she doesn't know this. And this man was just laying down there on the ground, and I began to ask, where's the ambulance? And And I actually called 911 and said, "Where's the ambulance? It needs to get here quick. We're doing full CPR on this man." And then someone relieved me, and I walked over to the trooper and I said, "Trooper, do you want me to find out who it is? Can I get his billfold?" And he said, "Yeah, go ahead and get that for me." And so I reached in the front pockets and no billfold, or the back pockets and no billfold. And I thought, oh goodness, he's not even going to have a billfold with him. We're not going to know who he is. And then I reached in the front pocket and I pulled out a small billfold and I pulled the license out, and then I realized it was you. And it was just devastating to come across not only a friend, but a pastor friend that I love dearly. And I went over and I looked back down at you and I thought, oh goodness, he's not going to make it. And so about that time the ambulance came and of course took care of your wife, put her in the ambulance and made a decision to go to Russellville with her. They intubated you, and they did shock you, and they're on the scene, and then they got you and put you in the ambulance, and about that time the chopper arrived and carried you to the ambulance to wait on the chopper and the guys from Air Evac to come and get you. And it took them a while to do it, and the whole time, Brother Jerry, I thought, he's just not going to make it. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know your family. All I knew to do was call Mike Morrison. And so I called Mike, and I said, Mike, Brother Jerry and his wife has had a critical accident. And Brother Jerry, I'm going to be honest with you, I prepared him for the worst. I said, it's not good. And so Mike said, well, I'll get a hold of his family. And I said, well, Brother Jerry is going to Huntsville, and his wife is going to go to Russellville, so you need to let them know that. And so I did, and then I just kind of stepped back for a little bit, and I looked at the ambulance and looked at the chopper, and Brother Jerry, all I could do was pray, and God just be with him. But in the back of my mind, I'm sure my faith was low. But when you see things like that, sometimes you just face reality, I guess. And I was afraid that you had passed in the back of the ambulance, and so then I just left and went back home. And as soon as I pulled in my driveway, the state troopers called me. And of course, me and Brother Sammy Taylor have been state trooper chaplains for many years here in the 3-county area, and they called me and they said that we had a death notification on top of Spruce Pine Mountain. And I said, oh goodness, I know who it is. And then when Brother Sammy and myself got there, everybody was already gone, and we found out that you had been flown, and that your wife had gone to Russellville. So we took off to Russellville to be with your mother, KK, your mother, and Jerry, your wife. And Brother Sammy, when your other daughter came, Brother Sammy carried them and had prayer, and I kind of stayed there with your wife, just to let her know that somebody was there with her. And then just a moment, the other chopper came in and began to work with your wife, and then Brother Sammy spoke some words of encouragement to her and told her that we were there and that we would be praying for her, and she was talking. And then, of course, they left with her. We stood on the outside and talked for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then my phone rang, and they said that Carol Ann had passed away. And I looked at Brother Sammy, and I said, Brother Sammy, I think they must have had this mixed up. It must be Brother Jerry has passed away, and Carol Ann's probably okay, because she was still talking. when she left the emergency room. And then we found out later, of course, that it was her and not you. And Brother Jerry, that's kind of the story.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. I really do. We'll pick up. We'll play a song. Pick up from there after this song as to what happened when we arrived in Huntsville. Of course, I still did not know anything for almost 2 weeks after the crash. It's all grace, Brother Greg.
Oh, it sure is, Brother Jerry.
He don't owe me nothing, anything. But he gives me life, opportunity.
Yeah.
Praise him. Bless him. After I was flown by the airback to Huntsville Hospital, I was put into the trauma unit. All right, KK, you'll need to get by his microphone over there. Just pull it over there to you. And I did 13 days, I believe, is how long I was in the unit. And then there was 11 days I was on life support there. KK knows more about it than I do. This is our youngest daughter. She's the one that God has permitted to be with us all the time, just about all the time. And I'm going to let her take it some from there. And I'll help her because it is an emotional thing. Because, see, her mother, Carol Ann, was already with the Lord. I didn't know that for nearly 2 weeks. And I'll let her take it from there. Okay, hon, go ahead.
Wayne and I were on our way out of town on that Friday afternoon, and the unusual part about that was that we always went up through Moulton to hit 65. But that day, the night before, I took him to work, and we were going to leave from Athens. And so I was already in Athens when I got the phone call from Kim that you and Mom had been in a wreck and that they were med-flighting you to Huntsville Hospital. And so I went and I got to the hospital actually before the med flight landed, and they took me to a room, and they told me just to stay there. That was the room for trauma patients, family members. And so I was there, and then Uncle Ronnie got there shortly after I did, your brother. And so we were just waiting, and finally representatives from the hospital started coming in to talk to us about your condition, and you were taken to CT scan, MRIs, x-rays, things like that, and they would not permit us to see you until all the testing was done. And I remember the doctor coming in, and he said that they were preparing to take you to surgery. And so they had some more things that they needed to do. It would be a while before they did that, but he quickly talked about you, and then he started talking about Mother's injuries, and I noticed the way that he was talking that he never once said that she was okay. And I finally asked him, I said, "Sir," I said, "how is my mother?" I said, "Did she make it?" And he said, "No, she did not make it." And it was then I began to cry out, because I knew that Kim had just told me 30 minutes before that Mom was talking right when they loaded her up on the med flight. One of the last things that Mom said to Kim was, "Tell my children and my grandchildren that I love them." And that was just Mother always thinking of other people. Mm-hmm. But the doctor said she did not make it. And so Dr. Moran then came in, talked to me and Bobby and Kim, and we had a decision to make. We could have not had the surgery or had the surgery, and Dr. Moran said, "You've got to give him a fighting chance." Said, "If we don't do the surgery, he's not going to live." He said, "But if we do the surgery and when we open him up, if we find what we're looking for," he said, "then he will not survive." Tons of people by that time were already praying, and the surgery took maybe an hour and a half. It may not have been that long time at that point, was, because we were staying with Mom until Chad and Mike got there from Morrison. So we were staying with Mom, but then we were back and forth with the representatives who were keeping us up to date on you, and they came and got us and said that they were taking you to the trauma unit and that they would get you settled and we could see you. And one of the first things that Dr. Holden, one of the doctors that was in surgery with you, he said that things looked really good for you. You were still very critical, but when they got in there was no leakage from the heart, which is what they were looking for. And so the next 24 to 48 hours were going to be touch and go for you, and they were. You didn't know anything for 9 days. You were on the ventilator for 9 days, and you were in the unit for 11 days, and in the hospital total at Huntsville for 13 days. But as soon as you would ask for Mom throughout the week and around the ventilator tube, and we had made the decision, the three of us together, that we would just tell you that Mom was okay. And at first we were torn with that answer because we didn't want to lie to you, but in reality she was better than any of us were at that point in time.
Yeah. Okay. And but then after you left the hospital, we're going to have to hurry out because we just have a few minutes. After you all went Mike Morrison and all of our family and many of the employees of Morrison Funeral Home had a service.
We did. We had a service on that Sunday, September the 1st, and we wanted to do something that would be pleasing to you and to Mother, and so we went with the choice of the private service, and with just our family, and then of course the funeral home guys that they're your family at work, and they all wanted to be there, so they came and they helped, and we had that service, and then of course we'll have her service at a later time for public and for you and for Reagan, so that that we can do what you and Mom had talked about before the accident.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that later on, but there will be a memorial service for Carol Ann December the 8th, First Free Will Baptist Church in Florence on Florence Boulevard. And Carol Ann, of course, had a stroke over a year ago, and so she and I had talked a lot about her homegoing because we thought maybe another stroke or she had congestive heart failure. So we really thought, that what we were thinking about was her going to be with the Lord as a result of the problem she had. So we had talked a lot about service and things like that. Her tabernacle she lived in is laid out at the community cemetery at Central next to Morrison Funeral Home. We had planned for herself and myself both to be there, and so she's there already. I'll join her eventually. I praise God. He just showed mercy and grace. And folks, if you don't know him and you need someone good and gracious, you need to cry out to the God of all gods, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. Brother Greg, thank you for being here with us this morning, and I hope that you'll really know how much I love and appreciate you. And Brother Sammy Taylor also. Yeah.
Well, Brother Jerry, we known you for a long time and always admired you, and thank you for what you do. I know this community and the whole area was praying for you and your family. And as you say, though, even in the midst of storms and trials and difficulties and death, God is still good. Mm-hmm. And He's still on the throne, Brother Jerry. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about it is, this life is passing quickly.
Yeah.
Someday we'll get to spend an eternity in heaven. What a thought.
Wow. Yeah. And all because of him.
And all because of him.
Thank you, Greg. God bless you, brother, and you have a super day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.